Hey everybody, I'm in the middle of making another video that's going to be a long video, and I think it's going to be one of my best videos ever. So I'm just telling you now, it's coming. I'm not sure whether this is going to be before or after it, so I don't really know. I don't do a lot of planning with my videos, as I guess you guys can tell. But I got a couple comments about Dr. Bullen's interview, the last one, talking about animals in the wild versus domestic animals and their diet. And I just there was a conversation between well, I'm just going to call him Flip, okay, Flip and Coda, and I can't tell from the picture. It looks like it's a dog in the picture. I never know whether it's these humans or male, female, whatever. But anyway, these two are kind of going back and forth because of what Flip said. So I want to just read Flip's initial comment because I thought it was pretty interesting, and I always love hearing the other side. You know, I think dialogue, you know, we'd all get kind of bored if we all just agreed with each other and patted each other on the back and said, yeah, those people over there are so bad. So this is kind of just looking at somebody with a little different perspective, which I always appreciate. So we're going to take a look at that. Okay, so Flip says, domestic animals live longer than wild animals because of predators, lack of medical care, and the need to constantly expend energy to find food, starvation, etc. Very true. I think we kind of established that in the video. Nutrition is way down on the list as far as reasons why wild animals die young, and Dr. Bullen is being disingenuous for not saying that. I'm gonna stop right there for a sec because I picked that up. So Flip is not wrong. We were talking about, you know, wild animals, and, you know, wolves generally don't live past 5 or 6, so there's no geriatrics in nature. There's no such thing as a senior diet for wolves or anything like that. But the cause of death among those poor animals is bad nutrition would be way down the list. And I think it was in minute 20, I think I looked. So Flip, if you watch this, again, I appreciate your comments and your perspective being a little different than mine. That's always a good thing. But if you look at minute 20, I think it was, I actually said, okay, let's do this. Let's take away the predators and the accidents and the warring, you know, packs of wolves and all the other stuff, which is sad, but they do that. Let's take all that away and just look at nutrition. If that wolf, and Dr. Bullen even added, you know, a perfect environment, a food supply that was steady, no starvation, take all that away. Just use the diet that they could get, which again is a little, I never thought about that, but their diet varies based on climates, based on time of year, all kinds of things. So they're never getting a consistent diet anyway. But anyway, if they did just get the diet that they prefer, that was natural and species appropriate, how would that change their longevity? Well, if you took away predators and all the other stuff, they'd probably live a little longer. That's to be obvious. But the one thing in the video that we did say, that we agreed, Dr. Bullen and I, is that when that wolf had the blessing of getting older and becoming a geriatric dog, if it came down with kidney issues or arthritis or chewed on a bone and that bone got lodged in there, no, that would fall under accident. I guess it's diet related because the bones could actually cause, you know, perforations and stuff like that. But we'll leave that out because that kind of falls under accident. So if we're just going with nutrients here, the point is, nature does not say, okay, this dog, this specific dog or wild cat is getting older and is starting to develop this issue. Let's adjust his diet to address that. You're not getting that in the wild. You are getting that with nutrition science. You are getting that with a very, call it artificial, call it processed, call it whatever you want, very unnatural approach to nutrition now for that dog or that wolf. So if again, a perfect scenario where the wolf could just eat what they wanted, as they aged, again, nature is not going to say, hey, they need extra omega-3s for arthritis. That we need to reduce the phosphorus that wolf naturally eats because his kidneys are starting to fail. You wouldn't have any of that. We have that because of nutrition science. And I thought I tried to get that point across because I could see where somebody would say, well, you can't compare wild animals, with all the issues that they face, their longevity is shortened for lots of sad reasons. And as Flip said, nutrition would be way down the list. I totally agree. The point is, though, if you look at could we give them an environment where they could just live naturally with their prey and not have any issues? Again, they're going to come down with conditions now that they're aging, and nature's going to ignore it, and nutrition science can address it. Okay, so that's, I think, a big distinction that I tried to bring up in the video, but if I didn't do a good enough job, thank you, Flip, because it's worth having a video to clarify that, because that is true. You can't just compare apples to apples. The longevity of wolves versus the longevity of a pampered canine that lives in a house and has a bed and has vaccines and has everything, including food. So Flip, you're totally right there. But again, to my point, nutrition still in those later years would be ignoring nutrition science. So we don't want to ignore those benefits that we have. He then said something that was kind of funny. Also disingenuous to fearmonger by saying things like it was okay to feed dogs scraps back in the day, but now they are eating diapers and cans. Really? Who is doing that? I have to admit, Flip, that I wasn't sure where I thought about that after, like, what is she really, and all I can think of is maybe she meant back in the old days when the scraps were put out with the garbage and the dogs just kind of ate the scraps. I'd like to think they put it in a bowl in the house, but maybe she's reading where, back in the old days, they just threw it outside with the garbage and the dogs would go through the garbage. Back in the old days, there wasn't a lot of toxic garbage for dogs to have to deal with compared to now. Maybe that's what she's talking about, but I can't pursue every little thing, but I hear you. That was a little strange. Maybe I'll ask her about that someday. But anyway, I think it's kind of a non-point to I wouldn't say that as fear mongering. It's just, again, table scraps. That's a whole nother. How unbalanced could it be? That's a different video maybe. Ultra processed foods have been proven to be bad for human health. So it does seem natural that people would be concerned about feeding their dogs nothing but ultra-processed kibble for their entire lives. Excellent point, okay? Excellent concern, makes total sense, and especially because the pet food marketers, what do? They say, look at ultra-processed food over here. Now, I love ultra-processed human food. McDonald's is my happy place. I like all the tasty cakes and all the Pop-Tarts and all that. I just love that stuff. I really do. I try to limit my consumption of it, but I will not stop eating it because life's too short to not enjoy those things. But ultra processed in the human world, there's fat, there's salt, there's extra calories. You can really look at something, even a lasagna dinner at the grocery store, and it looks normal, looks like something grandma would make, and then you look at the ingredient panel and see all kinds of stuff. So totally true that human ultra-processed food, you really need to limit any form of it, okay? The difference is when you look at pet food and ultra-processed pet food, what do you find? You find a total different purpose. It's not there to just taste good and give you calories and ignore nutrition. It's actually just the opposite. They're trying to give you, that dog, the best nutrition they can for the price point that they're dealing with, and they're going to pick ingredients that are going to deliver those nutrients. Now, some food companies do it better than others. Some invest more in synthetics to get the omega-3 levels up or to balance the calcium and phosphorus. All that, it's a whole world of nutrition science. But ultra-processed pet food that can save your dog's life with kidney disease or your cat from urinary stones and all that kind of stuff, that's ultra-processed too, but it's way different than going to the snack section of the grocery store as a human and picking up all that junk food. And shame on any pet food marketer, pretty much almost all of them do this. They try to equate ultra-processed food from human market with ultra-processed from pet, and it is two different animals. Matter of fact, I did a video on it. You can watch. It's on how bad is ultra-processed food. And the fact is, I can give you ultra-processed food that's horrible, and I could give you ultra-processed food that has every nutrient and optimal levels for your dog. And also, I use AV a lot on here. My special needs granddaughter is nonverbal special needs, and she has a G-tube. She cannot eat food, and she has been on a ultra-processed food for 10 years now, and is doing great. And that's ultra processed, but all the nutrients she needs is in that food. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else that he says here, because again, I appreciate the way every thought that you hear from one person, you know there's tons of people out there thinking the same thing, and that's why I share these comments, because I think it's good to address what people are thinking out there. Let's see. Dog is nothing but ultra. I am interested in feeding my dog the best food possible within reason. I want to learn and value all information regarding that, but the way this is presented, it comes off as a commercial for dry kibble food. Well, I'm sorry that's why it's good. I love the idea. Watch all the videos. Watch the videos. I was doing response videos till I got in trouble with copyright. Now I'm back to doing them again. Watch my videos comparing my understanding of nutrition versus Sam the retailer's. That's a great way to kind of look at both and decide. I've got a video that I'm just barely starting to work on. I am super excited. I really do believe it's going to be my best video ever, really addressing the ingredientist versus the nutritionist. And so that's coming. But in no way, I can tell you, watch the other interviews of Dr. Bullen, Flip, and you'll see that Dr. Bullen is saying that there is no form that's best, okay? You could have the best raw homemade diet, and it could be terribly unbalanced and deficient or excessive for your pet that could literally kill them over time. That happens. We have cases of that. Or you could have a raw homemade diet that is absolutely delivering every optimal nutrient that animal needs, addressing that specific animal. That's awesome. You could cook those ingredients and do the same thing. You could make an ultimately, just perfect diet for your dog. That's what she does. You could call Dr. Bullen and work with her and do just that. And you'll be able to work on ingredients together and nutrient delivery and all that. That's super. A lot of people aren't going to go that route. It's expensive. It's just time consuming. They're going to trust a company and buy that kibble. It could be air dried. It could be extruded kibble. It could be canned. No one talks about canned for some reason, but canned is another option out there. Provides a lot more moisture than kibble. It's more expensive. But don't let anybody tell you a form. This form is best, because within that form, whatever one you want to pick, you're going to find diets that are great and diets that are lousy based on what? Based on the nutrient delivery. Does that make sense? So when you're looking for the best, pick the form that fits your lifestyle, I think, or your budget, and then look at, okay, within that form, which one delivers optimal nutrients. That's what I try to do on my channel. Dr. Ray is a great source for looking at diets and looking at the nutrients. BK Pets, Bryce from BK Pets, I always call him a kid because could be my kid for sure, but he came from the holistic world, bought into it, hook, line, and sinker, and he's a really sharp young man. He really started questioning things and asked a lot of good questions, and I knew he was gonna get it, and he has now. Much more entertaining than me, so you go check him out, BK Pets. He does reviews, he makes homemade diets, he's really into it. I learn something every time I watch one of his videos. Doesn't mean I agree 100% with everything. We're not looking for 100% agreement here. We're just looking for people that are using evidence-based science and thinking clearly and not being bought by the marketing. So that's why I recommend all these different people. And I think, so yeah, it was, I appreciate Coda coming back, and he or she, I don't see the video as as advertisement for kibble, just a clearing up of misinformation about kibble, which is true. We do that a lot. Most dogs will live a healthy lifespan on kibble. Again, that's very true. This video allows people to know the truth about kibble, that is a viable choice that is more accurately compared to baby formula if you're going to make a comparison about processed foods. That's true. Baby formula, and again, AV's formula are all ultra processed, but for a different purpose than just giving us great taste and empty calories. No person should feel shame or uncertainty when choosing kibble. And that really, to Coda's point, you don't hear anybody blasting, the other forms as much as, kibble's bad. They build their whole marketing campaign on kibble being so bad. And again, I can't say it enough. The minute somebody gives you kibble's bad, kibble does this, kibble has blah, 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 you probably should just immediately stop listening to anything they say. Because again, it just shows their ignorance, because within that kibble world, there's everything from the worst to exceptionally excellent nutrition. And it all comes down to what? The ingredients chosen that deliver the optimal nutrients, and the research that food company is putting behind that food. That's the difference. But to say all kibble is bad, that's like me being ridiculous and saying all raw is bad or all homemade is bad. Yeah, some raw is bad and some homemade raw cooked is bad, but it can also be excellent. It's just the difference is you take on that responsibility if you're going to do it yourself. That's a responsibility I'm not willing to do, so I'm trusting whatever food company I decide to trust. Okay, but again, Flip comes back with Coda, and again, I appreciate the dialogue. I don't think you can clear up misinformation by spreading more misinformation. An honest assessment doesn't need to include false claims. So I guess he's talking about the diaper and the cans, and that's fine. But I did find it very interesting. I always learn whenever I talk to a nutritionist. I love it because I've learned something new. But the things she brought up about the species appropriate, that they won't chew their food, they'll just swallow it, which most domestic dogs do as well. So it's sitting in the gut. The fact that many times they're eating food that's a carcass and I remember this working in Yellowstone, there'd be a bison carcass there for weeks, and the different animals would come and feed off it. And so how ironic that they're eating rotten meat, they're swallowing it whole, all this other stuff. And then you look at a domestic diet where it's not going to be rotten. I mean, again, I joked, if you want to be species appropriate, you shouldn't be feeding perfectly fresh food for your dog. You can some, but a lot of times they're eating to stuff themselves, and then they're coming back again days later and eating more. I saw grizzlies and wolves, fighting over a carcass over a couple days, that kind of thing. And then also the thing about the bones, that they would be swallowing, these bone, femurs, small femurs of rabbits or small animals, whatever. And it's true. We don't hear about how often do we have a perforated GI tract with a wolf. They just go off and die. We glamorize this raw species appropriate idea, and then we realize, well, wait a minute, there's definitely some drawbacks to nature that we can improve with nutrition science. If we ground up those bones, we actually can feed an exact amount of calcium and phosphorus and have it totally absorbable because it's already broken down, and it's totally safe for our domestic dog versus that poor wolf that's got a femur sticking through his stomach wall. So again, I thought it was really interesting, the difference between science and nutrition science. And I do appreciate Coda and Flip going back and forth. So Coda says, I watched the entire video again, and I heard all your points about comparing wild animals to domesticated animals addressed. So I am not following your critique of the video. And Flip comes back again. So you agree that quality of nutrition is a big reason that domestic animals usually live at least twice as long as their wild counterparts. That's what Dr. Bullen said, and that is false. Like I said before, disingenuous. So again, I think it's interesting, and I always want to be objective on this channel. What Flip really focused on is you cannot compare apples to apples. If you're going to look at that wolf dying at 5 or 6 years of age, it's not because of poor nutrition, okay, only. But again, Dr. Bullen's point that if you look at, I think she dug deeper into, if you look at the diet the natural diet, it's going to vary based on prey availability, based on climate of that year or weather of that year, all types of things. It's not this perfect diet. And again, to my point that I brought up in, I think, minute 20, there's no addressing individualism within those canines or felines. And if they could age and get older, definitely there's no consideration to how can we improve the quality of their life or give them longevity. You're not going to get, wild animals don't get that. Nature could care less. The idea is to, what did she say? And I've always said this, to live long enough to reproduce and then you die. That's pretty much nature, and that's what she said too. And I think Taylor, our resident trainer that gets on here a lot, he said something I probably couldn't find it here if I tried, but he talked with a nutritionist at a zoo or something, and basically said, yeah, the ultimate result in the wild is premature death. You know, these animals just don't live that long. So to look at, well, let's look at their diet. Well, you can look at their diet, but again, that's only a small part of it. So thank God we have nutrition science and vaccines and parasite control. And our dogs and cats get to enjoy wonderful climate controlled rooms and multiple beds through the house and lots of TLC. So I'm not too up on appreciating nature when it comes to my dog. Just not going to do it. Sorry. So anyway, just wanted to share that, and I appreciate Flip, I appreciate Coda, appreciate all the comments you guys share. And again, thanks so much for all the wonderful comments about Bella. I don't want to keep pressing that, but it really, really meant a lot to me and my family. So thanks again. And like I said, I am working on a awesome video that I think I'm going to title it. This may be my best video, so you got to watch it, you got to share it, okay? Catch you on maybe on that one.